Well, good morning, everyone. Time for another ACDI webinar. Glad to be here today talking about a powerful search solution from ACDI called Access FileSight. Mark Hart is out and about. He's traveling. He's out at some shows, so he will not be with us today. My name is Doc Balgi. I'm a technical solutions specialist for ACDI, and it is my privilege to be here today to talk to you about FileSight. We're going to get into some technical information today, so join us, and we'll have some Q&A sessions afterwards. So right now, everybody's on mute. Probably 20, 25 minutes or so of presentation, and then we'll get into Q&A. Again, thank you very much for joining us this morning as we take an overview of FileSight. Hey, I mentioned it a couple of times, but I just want to make sure you know, in case you missed the memo or anything, FileSight is an enterprise search engine software that allows users to search many sources from a single location. Don't worry, I'm not going to just sit here and read slides all afternoon or morning, but that's what we're talking about, an enterprise search engine. This is so cool because this fits in a place where ECM, EDMS might be too much for your customer, and Windows file search is not enough for them. This fits right in that middle, that sweet spot, where sometimes it can be really tough to find a good product. Well, ACDI has one for you. It's called FileSight. And what we do with this particular product is that the software indexes and OCRs files across file servers, Exchange servers, SharePoint servers, and many other connectors that we have available for you too. So this is the purpose of FileSight. It's going to OCR. I hope I don't need to explain OCR, optical character recognition, but you know, when we scan things, it's really a picture of a file. So OCR engines go through and look at the text and make it into machine language so that we can search and find things. That's the whole concept behind FileSight. And once again, file servers, Exchange servers, and SharePoint servers. Now, from within the user search page, we can preview most of the file types that we have available. There are some file types that won't show up in a preview. That's right over on the right side of the screen, as you see. You can download your files locally, or you can open the folder that the file resides in. So very easy. And this, frankly, is what a lot of the power users, the knowledge users in your organization need to do. They need to search and find the information. It literally is that easy. Let's talk a bit technical about the FileSight server and what we need. It is good to be installed on server 2008 R2, 2012, and 2012 R2. We're looking for 4 CPU cores, 16 gig of RAM, and 60 gigabytes of free space on the hard drive. That's pretty much your minimum requirements, and we can actually increase, we can scale this up any way that we need to, but this is the best way to go ahead and install it is with 4 cores, 16 gigs of RAM, and 60 gigs of hard drive on the low end. Now, we are using, of course, NTFS file system, cluster size of 4K or larger recommended, and we want to install on the partition that doesn't host the operating system. I'll mention that again. It's kind of good to separate this stuff. You want to make sure it's a member of the domain. It should be a dedicated server. We really don't want to run anything else on that server, especially if that other product is running any type of IIS to bring your web pages out. So IIS is the back end serving the web pages for FileSight. You don't want any other IIS object running there. Also .NET 4.5. And it's nice to have a real easy, friendly name for your computer because the search name, you're going to either use IP, but probably the name of the computer, it's going to be the name of the computer / search. So that's how you can locate FileSight from other remote systems across the network. And really don't need antivirus. I mean, the documents, everything that's going on, we're not, browsing the internet and other documents and things have already gone through some type of antivirus. And antivirus can slow down some types of software like this, so it's not recommended. You don't really need it in this particular installation. let's talk about the install. It's really straightforward. There's about 7 screens that we really go through. This is actually the third one. The first couple are just real basic. Here, you can actually select different languages that you want FileSight to be able to understand and to OCR. So you can select more than one, if you're dealing with multiple languages and a lot of different documents in different languages. Go ahead and select the one so it understands the language that you want to go ahead and take a look at and OCR. Then we choose the installation path. Remember I said that it's recommended to install onto a partition separate from the one that houses the operating system. And it's also possible to install program files, program data in separate locations, as you can see here too. Really the next couple of steps as we go through, it's going to install the Postgres database on the local machine. You can run Microsoft SQL Server if you want. It is good for Microsoft SQL Server 2012. It does need to be installed ahead of time. SQL should be running on a separate server. We create the database ahead of time. We won't go into all the details about the name and ownership and all that, but it can be run on a SQL server, not a problem. But the typical installation does include the open source Postgres database, which works very, very well. Installation just takes a few minutes to go through. When we're done, we actually have 3 new applications listed on our server. We've got the FileSight Management Console. That will launch a local app that will allow you to load licensing, configure, schedule connections for indexing, access control, that type of thing. And so it's secured because it's on the server, and you need rights to the server to be able to get to the management console. So that's how that's secured, just with your Windows rights. Really, that's how we're looking at everything, is your Windows rights. We're not really doing much of anything else inside of FileSight. We'll just keep that all intact. The search page is one of the other apps that gets installed. This displays the standard user search page and allows you to create predetermined or use predetermined searches or create your own custom searches, and it's done through a browser, so you don't have to install anything. There are a couple of downloads. We'll talk about them in just a moment, but generally you just open a browser and you can access FileSight. Get it? Access FileSight, that's the name of it. You can access FileSight right from a browser. And we also have the web dashboard too. Now this will allow administrators to view search analytics. It can check out system errors, create, manage searches, all that kind of stuff. So all that's available through the 3 applications that then get installed on the server. Let's take a look at them. The management console. How much straightforward can you get than this? Very easily done. Here's, as I mentioned, we configure connections that FileSight will index. We'll configure access control, and we'll load the licensing all from here. This is what it looks like. Your 3 core connectors are right there on the left side: Exchange, File Server, SharePoint. We're showing one other type of connector. Dropbox is another one that we do have created from ACDI. On the right, then, when you make that connection, this is how you actually create it. You add the connection, and you go ahead and point to whatever directory and whatever you want to call that particular connection. Put in some details about it, your service account. Then you might notice on that left side, enable share security. This is the checkbox that keeps everything using Windows security in check. So if I'm searching through my repository and I do not have rights to view that particular document because of that share security, I am not going to see it. I shouldn't see it. And you wouldn't want an end user that shouldn't see that document to have access to it. So that's how we can control things, and look how easily that's done. We also connect to different file types. The default now is the middle box, the screen on the right there, where it says index only selected file types, and it has its own selections there, which you can expand upon. Or you can do all file types. It really depends on how much of the OCR engine you want to work. You can have it bypass MP3s if you want, although I don't. I'm a music guy, so I like my MP3s indexed. Or you can bypass photographs, that type of thing. By the way, if you have JPEGs, TIFF, PNGs, pictures, and there is text in that picture, we're going to go ahead and pick it up, and we'll index it. And you can search on the wording that's inside a picture. How cool is that? The last step really then is to, again, talk about security. Is this a standard file share? Maybe we're going to treat this as a home folders that are used in Windows. If so, you just, check the boxes appropriately, finish up, and you're done. That brings us to the search page. I mentioned it's accessible on the local network, and it's done by the server name, so that's why it's nice to have a convenient, maybe a short server name for it. FileSight sounds like a good name to me. And then /search, and you're able to get into the search page. From this page, you easily search from the pre-configured scopes. You can search all. You can download the client software if you need. You don't have to use it. There's some software available. You can create your own custom search scopes as well. Let's take a look at the search page. Really easy. I mean, this is it. You've got the search bar, step 1, right up there. So that's obviously where you put in the information that you're looking for. Step number 2 on the left-hand side, we call those refiners. So the initial search is going to bring us everything, but I know the document is a PDF, let's say. So I can just tick the box for PDF. I know it's in a specific repository, so I can just tick the repository that I want to look at, and then it's going to filter and refine that search for us. Step 3 are the search results. So they're all right in front of us. The preview pane is on the right. We took a brief look at that at a screenshot just before, but it does show a preview of the document. It'll give you details of the document, which are essentially the properties of the file, and also the raw text from what has been indexed through the system. You'll be able to see how accurate and what it's actually looking for. And then step 5 up there, view and sort. You do have like a grid view or a list view where you're able to change the different types of views you have in the search field. The downloads, as I mentioned, there's a document handler download. You don't have to use these things, but they're there for you. This allows users to open a selected document directly from the FileSight search page. Where that comes in handy is something like a CAD drawing, and maybe you don't have CAD software. Well, you can use this document handler to go ahead and view that. It's good for PC and Mac, by the way. Note that the best experience with Mac, the client machines should be joined to the domain and connected to file shares being indexed by FileSight. So kind of critical with the Macs. Typically Macs are unauthenticated, so you would want to join them to the domain. This is really how we're working here. This is why we look at it on a server installation and how we're leveraging Windows as the file system to be able to use all the security and everything that's available for us. There's a MyWorks client as well. This allows PC users to have a search widget that resides on their desktop. Depending on your feelings about widgets, you do have that capability there. And also a search provider that you can add to your browser as well. So those are a couple of things that you can add and enhance your capability and your use of FileSight. I mentioned some of these scopes. Users do have the ability to create their own search scopes that allow them to personalize the program to suit their search needs. You can also turn off search scopes that they don't need or they're not using. And this is what the search scopes really look like. So you can give it a name and some terms, maybe the file extensions that you want to look at. So it's very easily done, and then it's just a couple of clicks to find the information and search. And again, this is really what the power users and knowledge users in your organization are looking for. They want to get the information to them as quickly as possible, and this will allow them to do it. Let's take a quick look at the web dashboard. Gee, just like PaperCut, we have a web dashboard with some incredible analytics that are available for us right there. So you can see everything at a glance and what's going on FileSight. You're able to view the analytics as well as configure those search scopes as we keep talking about, because that just makes it so easy to use. You can look at your repositories and get a better overall view of the number of documents that have actually gone through the system. How many have been discovered? How many have been converted with OCR? You see all of that. I guess the only thing I don't like is it says indexed and converted right here. Indexed really is kind of that discovery, and converted is where it goes through that OCR process. So just that's the terminology that FileSight is using there. So I would maybe change that a little bit, but I'm not a developer, so that's okay. So that's how we have it. Index means it's found the documents, and then it goes through the repository, it'll grab the documents, it gets their file name, gets their properties, so you can search on that stuff right away. Then it'll go back through it in a second pass and convert using OCR so that we can find any word on any document anywhere inside a FileSight. It's that easy. System page is available as well. This will display information for both the fetch and the conversion process. So you're able to see what's happening and understand what's going on with, if your server is maxed out on CPU or RAM, you can find out, because that's what happens when it does the discovery. It's going to be very CPU intensive. When it's going through the indexing, it's going to be very RAM intensive. So you can take a look at exactly what's going on in the system. Here's our main analytics page. Shows the current status of the various FileSight services. Some additional pages on the right, we're showing a connector page there, so you can get details about the connector. We've also got search information too, which you can take a look at and find out what your users have been searching. So you can get information about what they've been doing inside of the system as well. The repository monitor displays the fetch and conversion information for each of the data connections. And the search requests here, again, that's the search scope, and the requests that you can find who is actually doing the searching, as you can see kind of in the bottom, who's been querying the system. You have an errors page, index errors, that'll show details for any document that failed to be included in the index. Hopefully you're not going to see very much information here in the typical installation. We don't see very many errors. We're using the Solar engine, that's S-O-L-R. That's the conversion engine that we're using for OCR. So you can take a look at that if you'd like. That's another Apache open source type of product. And the OCR engine is the Tesseract engine, if you want to get a little geeky with me and understand the back end of stuff. Again, Solar engine and the Tesseract Solar Indexer, and Tesseract is the OCR engine. If we navigate to the configuration or the search scope areas, then we can edit or we can delete, we can create new search scopes, all of that information very easily done inside of FileSight. The cool thing about those search scopes is that, we can just say that it's a specific directory or it's a specific file format that we're looking for. So that really increases the timing for your search, makes it a lot more productive. So when you are searching for something, if it's really only looking at one of the repositories and a couple of different file formats, bam, that information will be right back to you. And again, that's what we're doing. This is a search product. This is not ECM. This is not EDMS. We're not tagging things. We don't have to go back through and put index values. Or when we scan, I don't have to add a bunch of metadata to all the information. This is just pure, full text OCR on every document that's inside of your database. And that's why we're able to easily find things. So when you look at that, you look at the pricing, and you look at the way that this works, it fits right in that middle between Windows file search and then an ECM, and some people are using it with ECM. They've got maybe an accounting department, and that's where they put the ECM product because they need some kind of workflow. They need an approval process. So that's great. That's where you put in ECM. But everybody else just needs to search and find their documents. That's what FileSight is all about. One other cool thing about it is when you search for things, you can actually create what are called promoted results. Now, that's kind of like in Google. We kind of joke around internally a little bit that this is like Google for your desktop. So you put in a search in the search bar, and it brings back what are called promoted results. Now, these are things that you have configured to display at the top of a search when a specific keyword is included in a search query. And Google does that too, except you have to pay for that inside of Google. And here, you don't have to pay for it. So you get promoted results, and it kind of looks like this. I hope you can see it because it's a real light blue background. Those top two documents there have a light blue background. So when we were searching for an EX2000, some of the hardware we have at ACDI, then we have these promoted results that show up right there. Again, highlighted in blue, so we see those, we know that they're there, and hey, we didn't have to pay for them, so they're right there. You could go ahead and schedule those. Very cool stuff. I love FileSight. It works very well. A lot of people are enjoying the search capabilities with FileSight, so you might have the question of where do I get this? And I will point you to the URL, acd-inc.com/FileSight. There is a demo there where you can kind of look at what we have running down in Little Rock. We've got a 30-day trial. Actually, where's that been? Anyway, it's down in Arkansas. You can get a quote right there. And, you know, there is even an app for iOS and for Google. This is an internal application, so it's not like externally searching for something, but you can download an app for your smartphone, and you are able to search for things with your smartphone as well. So it works very conveniently. We have those trials, so feel free to go to that website, download the trial, give it a whirl, and I just want to say thank you very much for attending this webinar today. Again, my name is Doc Balge. I'm a Technical Solutions Specialist for ACDI, and I'll go ahead and wrap up the webinar for right now. I thank you for your time. We'll open it up for questions in just a moment, but at this point, I'm done with the presentation material, and thank you for attending today. So at this point, let's see if I can go ahead and unmute folks, or you can put something in the chat bar if you have a question. I may have to go through everybody here. Let's see. So if there are any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat bar. I'll be glad to respond. I'm trying to unmute folks as we go along. If you have a question, you can try to talk. Hopefully you liked what you saw today. We are here at ACDI to support you on this. Pre-sales, post-sale. Does Exchange integration work with Office 365? That's the question that's up here, and we're looking for a resident location, resident installation of Exchange. Right now, it's not with Office 365.
You know, that rubber.
We do have quite a bit of background noise, but that's okay. Opening it up for questions.
Okay.
Anybody else, please feel free to put something in chat. Trying to get everybody unmuted.
Okay.
So either I did a really good presentation or I put everybody to sleep today. So I was trying to make sure that this was of value for you. Any other questions today? We'll keep it open for another couple of seconds. Maybe in the interim, if you're thinking of something, you're not sure, go ahead and put some background stuff again. Lines are still open. If you have any questions. Lines are still open. Okay, question in, I mentioned domain servers a lot. Can this be installed on a file server in a peer-to-peer with Windows 10? Short answer is it can, but what we really run into are permissions, and it is supported on server installations, not really supported on Windows 10. I personally am running it on Windows 10. Where you run into issues with that in peer-to-peer is that it wants a domain in front of your username. So you can kind of get through that, but it can get a little sticky as well. The supported installation is on a server. Does FileSight need a standalone server, file server, or can it just be located on a partition with other programs running on the C drive? It is highly recommended to have a dedicated server for FileSight. If you have any other programs, it may be okay, but nothing that is running IIS as a web service on that particular server. Great questions. Great questions. Anything else today? We'll go ahead and wrap it up. If we don't have any further questions, any chat, feel free to put it in. Feel free to put it in. All right, well, once again, we appreciate your time today. Thank you for attending another one of the ACDI webinars. It's been my pleasure to present the Access FileSight program for you. And there is a sales presentation that is also coming up at 1 o'clock on this. Pretty much the same thing, but a little bit of a spin on the sales side. So that'll be coming up at 1 o'clock. That is our next webinar. I'm Doc Balgi for ACDI. Thank you very much for attending.